Hey, what's up? This is Jose, and welcome to the 11 video series I'm going to be putting out. So this will be video number 1, and what I want to do for video number 1 is just talk about some of the rudimentary psychology concepts that I had to understand, and really I think it was one of the core things that really got me on the path towards success in my life. And so these are very, I'm going to talk about these things in a very simplistic way. I'm not going to get too complicated about it. If you do want to look up some more stuff when it comes to the things that I'm going to be talking about, if you want to look up more ideas and topics and get some more in-depth details, I'll go ahead and add some supplementary resources that you can look up after the fact. But right now I just want to keep it simple, talk about it in the way that I interpret it and how it sort of affected me, and what I did to get in control of it in order to get in control of my mind, get in control of my life, and really get some different circumstances. And so I'll just crack it into it. So the topics that I want to cover that are basic psychology, I want to talk about the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the reticular activation system, okay, which you can abbreviate RAS. Now, the RAS is actually a part in your brain that controls your attention, okay? So right now you're paying attention to this video, your RAS is focused on this video. It's what controls your attention, and you can focus on different things, right? So you can focus on pretty much anything, right? So you can, let's say, focus on your foot and follow that feeling all the way up to your knee. So you just used, if you just followed along with that, you just used your reticular activation system to follow your attention up the side of your leg. Okay, so it's pretty simple. And I'll sort of dive a little bit deeper on how it connects with the conscious and the subconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind can't really be traced to any one part of the brain. It's just it's really hard to explain because science hasn't even been able to definitively explain where consciousness comes from. Okay, so forever scientists and physicists and quantum theorists and things like that, for years and for millennia, they thought that consciousness comes from the brain. What we're finding out now, and what research and modern day research is pointing to, the answer that it actually probably doesn't come from the brain, but we still don't really know, right? So there's a lot of controversy that comes around that. Again, I'm going to keep it very simple. I'll add some supplementary resources at the end of this, but I like to think about the conscious and subconscious mind almost like an iceberg. So the top of the iceberg, which is like the 10% that's poking out of the water, that's your conscious mind. Okay, so it's what sort of gets you through the day. It's what you're focused on, the tasks at hand. You're cooking your meals throughout the day. You're hitting the gym. You're doing your work, and you're kind of going about your life in the present moment through your subconscious mind. And then your subconscious mind is the 90% of the iceberg that's underwater. That's actually when people use the metaphor of an iceberg, what they're insinuating and what they're inferring is that what you see at the top isn't actually what is actually there, right? And so that 90% of the iceberg, which is the subconscious mind, is what's ultimately controlling you, how you think, the circumstances that you live in, the sort of people you hang around with. And you can think of it in terms almost like a memory bank. This is what really made it click for me, that your subconscious mind is almost like a memory bank. And so every single experience, every single interaction, every single trauma that you have is stored in that subconscious mind. And your conscious mind is sort of at the whim of the subconscious mind, if that makes sense. And so if your subconscious mind, it's deeply rooted, it's very hard to change. It is something that like you literally have to like reprogram almost like a computer if you want to think different thoughts, right? And so the subconscious mind, the reason it's so tricky is the fact that it's really hard to pinpoint and sort of get to the root of. That's why people use things like hypnotism, because what happens is when you're in a hypnotic state, when you're in a trance, your conscious mind is turned off, and you're able to access the subconscious mind and input new information that'll serve your life a lot better. And so pretty much everybody's acting in accordance with their subconscious mind. You just don't know it. People, like, you can walk down the street and talk to any person. You can talk to 100 different people, and all of them think that they are in control of their lives. They're thinking from their conscious mind. They're thinking from, in that moment, the thing that's sort of like getting them to go walk to the corner store to grab a gallon of milk, or the thing that's the thing that's sort of propelling them to sort of do the day's tasks. That's the conscious mind, right? Now, over time, the repetitive experiences that you live embed themselves in your subconscious mind and really dictate how your conscious mind thinks. Okay, so sort of circling back to this concept that realistically the subconscious mind is in control of everything in your life. And so that's why it's so important to, especially when you're bringing up children, it's important to implant things like confidence and enthusiasm and intelligence and a love for the finer things in life. It's important to do that and when they're young in age, because that time, by the time they're my age, by the time they're 24, 25 years old, their subconscious mind is rooted in the pleasant things of life, not the bad things, right? And so it's almost like think of it like a plant that you need to water with the right and proper nutrients all the time, because if not, you will not be thinking properly in terms of getting what you want out of your life, if that's what you want. Right, if you don't care, if you're not worried about like the circumstances that you live in, and you don't really care like kind of what happens to you, okay, you shouldn't be watching this in the first place. But the core fundamental concepts of understanding your subconscious mind are what's ultimately going to put you in a different position in life, if that makes sense. Okay, so if right now you're not living in the circumstances you want, you're not making as much money as you want, you don't have the friends that you want, you don't have the relationships you want, you don't feel as good as you think you should be feeling. You're constantly bogged down by things like stress, anxiety, and low energy. I would audit yourself and really start to do some research on the subconscious mind, because I would reckon that what's holding you back is some deeply implanted ideas and thoughts that don't serve who you really are. Okay. Now, the way the RAS, the Reticular Activation System, what I mentioned earlier, sort of plays into both of these is this is sort of the key to really changing your life. Okay, so if you can start to focus on the thoughts and the mental patterns that are really holding you back, it's little insecurities, right? Those little insecurities are what are ultimately dictating what your conscious mind does, what you're doing in each living moment. But there's a background noise, there's a background tape, like a record player going on in the background that is affirming whether you should take action on a certain thing or not. Let me rephrase that. There's a record tape going on in the back of your head that's sort of dictating the decisions that you make in that present moment. And if you can transfer your RAS to better thinking thoughts, if you can transfer your RAS to think thoughts of positivity and abundance and confidence and enthusiasm and love and positivity, then your conscious mind will begin to take action in accordance with that, right? And so the RAS is almost like the key to kind of going in between the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. Now, a couple of things to really understand about how they all kind of intermingle is you emit brain waves. Okay, so your brain is emitting waves at a certain hertz. I can't remember the exact numeration of the hertz. And again, this is a very simplistic explanation from my understanding. If you want like some professional or deeper dive into these things, definitely go do your own research, do your own due diligence about these things. Don't let this just be some 10-minute video you watch and then you don't do any supplementary things in the aftermath. But your brain is emitting different levels of brain waves every single day. Okay, so when it's the middle of the day, for the majority of the day, when you're at work, when you're talking with friends, when you're with your family, when you're just kind of like living life, your brain is in beta. Okay, and beta is when you're really acting with your conscious mind. Okay, now when you start to relax a little bit and achieve some mindfulness, you can even meditate to experience this. When you're in a mindful state, you're in alpha. Okay, so now you're oscillating between the conscious and the subconscious mind. And the best way really to get into alpha is when you meditate, you relax, your cortisol levels go down, your stress level goes down, your energy becomes stable, and you're really grounded where you're at right there. That's the best way to sort of tap into that alpha brainwave. Now, there's theta, and theta is a deep meditative state. Almost like if you're doing, you can think of the theta waves as, let's say, the quarterback of a football team. He's in the zone, right? He's on the field, he's in the zone, he's in theta because he's so grounded and in tune with what's going on in that situation that level of mindfulness, it's literally, you're in a deep trance. Literally, it's like, that's what makes sports, and this side note, that's what makes sports and things like that so addictive, is when you get into that flow state, you're like free. And you're free to just kind of express yourself and be so present to the moment that it's addicting. And it's like people live for that. Literally, people live for that. So, okay, that's theta. Now, when you're sleeping and when you're deep in sleep, that's called delta. Okay, and delta is when your subconscious mind is alive. So that's why a lot of your dreams happen when you're in that delta state. And really, just a quick. And again, I wanted to frame these videos with a problem solution oriented format. So The quick problem that I see with people having a poorly programmed subconscious mind is that they don't know how to change it. Okay, and you'll know if you have a poorly programmed subconscious mind if you're not living the life you want. If you're complaining all the time, if you're ungrateful, if you blame everyone else for your problems, I can almost guarantee you that your subconscious mind is programmed poorly. And you can be right and you can be wrong about these things, but it doesn't matter. Like you are responsible for your life. And so the reason I'm bringing up the brain waves is to sort of allude to what are some of the main things that you can do to sort of reprogram your subconscious mind. And one of the easiest and one of the most practical things you can do right now, do it today, is when you're going between theta and delta, that's the best time to really start to really take your RAS and start to implant the right thoughts that you want that'll ultimately help you live a better life. And so the best time to do this in the day is first thing when you wake up in the morning, and then right before you go to bed at night. Because when you're going to bed at night, your body and your brain waves are sort of slowing down to put you in a state of like a state of trance where you're going from theta to delta, so that way your body can relax and recover and go to sleep. And similarly, when in the morning, when your body's waking up and trying to get to that beta waves, those first moments in the morning, your brain is still in delta and theta, and so it's really crucial in those first moments in the morning to really ground yourself and start to think about and really force your RAS to think about what are the thoughts that you want to implant in your brain. Okay, so these you want to implant thoughts of gratitude. This is where the affirmations come in, right? It's like you want to be able to start to implant in your mind better thoughts of abundance and love and creativity, and really start to even write these things down. Start to focus on what it is that's ultimately going to help you get a better life. What are the thoughts that are ultimately going to help you gain more confidence, to have more trust in yourself, right? These are sort of the thoughts that you should be thinking if you want to live a successful life, right? Like, you're not going to live a successful life if you're constantly bogged down with negative energy and poor thoughts and thinking that you're a victim in absolutely every single circumstance. No, it's like, take responsibility, get your RAS under control, focus on the things that are going to help you, and over time, your subconscious mind will begin to adapt. So this isn't going to happen overnight. Your brain is literally like a computer software, and you have to rewrite the code. And how do you rewrite the code? It's harder on the brain to rewrite the code because it takes a lot of repetition. And so that you definitely want to handle these things while you're younger, because your subconscious mind isn't as like firmly rooted and glued to to the thoughts and the patterns that it has. You want to handle those things while you're younger, so that way in your older age, your subconscious mind is already thinking in accordance with what's going to give you a better quality life. And so, again, this is a very simplistic understanding of it. I'm going to go way more in depth in the future about some of these concepts, but I want to keep it short. These are sort of like the very, very like so super basic psychological principles that'll really help you sort of get in control of your life. And so, if this is something you resonated with, if you got some good value out of this, drop a comment, share it with someone. I want to connect with you guys. And the next video is going to be really sick too, so stay tuned, and can't wait to put it out.